Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. Good morning. What a beautiful day. Happy Thursday. I'm very, very excited to be here with you all. We'll just get started with our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam because these two verses are incredibly full of nectar. And yeah, I'm really excited to discuss them all with you. Paula Andrea, am I sharing the screen? Is that my my job? Yes.
If you can, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I'm happy to. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, I'm going to share the screen here. Let's see. Okay, can you see the verse? Is this what you're looking at? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just offering some prayers to Srila Prabhupada, our teachers, all the Vaishnavas who have offered their teachings, their wisdom, their support, their knowledge to us. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashyati Adesha Dharine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As I was reading these verses, it was very, very clear that because we have Srila Prabhupada's giving us the essence of what these verses mean, of what these scriptures mean, we can understand what it really means, because it's in a language that isn't our native language, and these words can have many, many, many different meanings. And so only through his teachings and those that came before him can we understand the essence of it. So I'm really grateful for that, and it's important to remember that. And he also asked us to study very scrutinizingly. And so, yeah, it's a full experience with these verses. Okay, so here we have, we're Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 25. Today's verses 18 and 19. So we'll start with the Sanskrit. Tasman matsharanam goshtam, mannatam matparigraham, gopaye swatma yogena, soyam me vrata ahitaha. And we'll get more into the synonyms shortly. We'll just read the translation and purports for now. I must therefore protect the cow. This is Krishna speaking. I must therefore protect the cowherd community by my transcendental potency, for I am their shelter, I am their master, and indeed they are my own family. After all, I have taken a vow to protect my devotees. And purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The word Charanam indicates not only that Lord Krishna was the sole shelter for the Vrajajana, the people of Vrindavan, but also that Lord Krishna had established his home among them. Srila Vishnavata Chakravarti Thakur quotes from the Anikarta Varga dictionary, Sharanam Griha Rakshitraho. The word Sharanam can represent either home or protector. The residents of Vrindavan adopted Krishna as their beloved child, friend, lover, and life itself, and the Lord reciprocated their feelings. Thus, Sri Krishna lived among these fortunate people, moving in their houses and fields. Naturally, he would protect such intimate devotees from all types of danger. And let's read the next one. Iti uktva kena hastina kritva govardhana chalanam tadhara lilaya vishnus chatrakam eva bhalakaha. Translation and purport. Having said this, Lord Krishna, who is Vishnu himself, picked up Govardhan Hill with one hand and held it aloft, just as easily as a child holds up a mushroom. Purport. It is confirmed in the Harivamsha that Sri Krishna picked up the Govardhan mountain with his left hand. Sadritaha sangato megair giri savyena panina. With his left hand, he picked up that mountain which was touching the clouds. According to Srila Vishnavata Chakravarti Thakur, when Lord Krishna was preparing to lift Govardhan hill, a partial expansion of his Yogamaya potency named Sangharikiri temporarily removed all the rain from the sky so that he ran very swiftly from the porch of his house to the mountain. Neither his turban nor other garments became wet. That was such a beautiful image to think he's doing all of this, what is impossible for any human being in this universe. And he's like, I'm not even going to get wet while I do this. So there's a lot of humor in it if we see it that way. So let's start with this first verse. So going into he's actually saying, these are Krishna's words. So he said, Tasmat, therefore, mat sharanam, having taken shelter of me. So sharanam comes from the word is sharana, not sharana, sharana, protecting, guarding, defending. Let me just go back to the verse here. Okay, protecting, guarding, defending. Goshtam, cowherd community, the village. So these are all the people that are around him. Matnatam, nata is protector, patron, possessor, owner, lord, my lord. So like Jagannatha. And it's important to really, we're trying to get into these words. Why is he using these words? So that feeling, what is it? That feeling when someone's my lord, my owner, they're my patron, they possess me. So we have those feelings in this world, we have those feelings with romantic relationships, with children, with parents, with just that kind of love where I'm completely yours. And all of these are just like a spark, a tiny little spark of what our feeling is with Krishna. So just imagine that feeling like, yes, you own me. That's how much I love you. And he's saying, this is what I am to them. Mat parigraham. And so this is translated as my own family. So parigraham, pari means around, round, and graha is to seize, to hold, take, to grasp. And so if we look at this word, so for example, in the yamas, aparigraha is non-possessiveness. So negates it, and parigraha, non-possessiveness, to not take. And so it's all of those that are around him that he's like, imagine this taking in. It's my people. Those are my people, my family, those that are close to me, that they surround me. So we can get a little bit more sense of, yeah, it's family, it's friends, it's everyone, those that are there. Okay, and then he says, Swa Atma Yogena, Gopaye, Gopa means protector, so Gopaye, I shall protect. Swa Atma Yogena, by my personal mystic power. Okay, so Swa Atma Yogena, Swa is of oneself, so kind of mine, Atma. This is related to Atman, which is the soul, the essence, Atman, and Yogena, the power. This is here, Prabhupada translate as mystic power. Now, in the 11th canto, the phrase Swa Bhakti Yogena is used several times where Krishna is saying, and it's translated as devotional service. So Bhakti Yogena is loving service. Atma Yogena is like the essence, the soul. And he's saying, Krishna's giving himself. He's giving all of him. He's giving his essence, his soul, his whole being. That's not a small thing. Saha ayam, this, may by me, vrataha, vow, and ahitaha. So a vow, firm purpose, and like when we observe a vow, or practicing chastity, is that kind of like, I'm going to do this, I am doing this. And so with this in mind, we'll read the verse again. I must therefore protect the cowherd community by my transcendental potency, for I am their shelter, I am their master, and indeed they are my own family. After all, I have taken a vow to protect my devotees. So what's happening? Krishna is reciprocating. And because they're his family, they are what's closest to him. He wants to protect and he wants to care for. And he's saying, I've made this vow. Now, I couldn't, and maybe someone here knows, but I couldn't, when he says, I have taken this vow, I don't know when he made this vow. I'm not sure what vow he's referring to. But I know that he, in two instances in the Bhagavad Gita, refers to something that are promises that are akin to promises, where he says in the 9th chapter that he will carry what we lack and preserve what we have. And then he says, declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish. And so this, protection, this taking shelter, this always being under his protection. And he's promised these things. So he's reciprocating. When I was reading when I was first reading this past time, I was thinking, oh, this is great. This is nice. Yes, the devotees, they're taken care of by him. They're under his protection. But one thing that I failed to realize upon just reading it in the beginning was I had this sense, until I had another realization. I had this sense that, like, yeah, that's good. That happens for them, for the devotees. And I missed the part that this is for everyone. This is for everyone. I am not outside of being taken care of and given shelter and protected by Krishna. And he's reciprocating. He's not giving it for free, but he has a certain relationship with the devotees, with the people in Vrindavan. But that relationship is available to all of us. All that we have to do is just reciprocate and just love him and get to know him and be in this relationship that is available in every moment of every day of our existence. So realizing that we all belong under the umbrella, and what is it that I'm really entitled to in this world. So we can talk about entitlement, because Indra he's having a whole moment full of entitlement. Like, I deserve this yagya, I deserve these prayers, I deserve this honor, this respect, I deserve to be recognized. And Krishna's like, no, you really don't, because you're not the one actually doing it. He's saying that the clouds are just behaving because that's what they do. They're just, it's actually the gunas that make the clouds give all of the motive passion that makes the clouds do this. And that the demigods have to do these things because there are other things at play here, another function that's happening. So really, it's not Indra. So you can imagine Indra's feeling a little bit maybe unseen, like, what am I really doing here? But he hasn't realized this yet. So, okay, so we can have a false sense of entitlement, or an entitlement for the wrong things, but it's not entitlement in and of itself that's the problem. It's the things that we think we're entitled to that we're not entitled to. But what are we entitled to? Because Prabhupada, in his purport, speaks a lot about birthright. And so we're going by what that word means, not that the soul actually has a birth, because it doesn't. But he says birthright as something that belongs to you. You just came into this world with it. So what is my birthright? It's that our birthright is our essence. It's our relationship with Krishna. Nothing can take that relationship away. Nothing. We can forget about it. We can try to forget about it, and we can get absorbed and distracted by many other things in this world, other relationships, our own selves, our happiness, our suffering, just forgetting. But it doesn't make it any less ours that we choose to get into other things. I have a right to, as an eternal soul, I have a right to not die. I don't die. I will never die. This body will die, but I won't. And I have a right to bliss, to happiness. I don't even have to do anything. So when we speak about, looking for happiness, or we're doing all of these things to try to be happy, it's not something that we have to learn. We just have to forget all the other ways that we've tried to be happy. We already know how to be happy, how to be joyful, how to be blissful. It's our essence. And knowledge and Krishna consciousness is our birthright. This is a lot of what Prabhupada said. Krishna consciousness is our birthright. We're just trying to undo and remove all the coverings that have helped us forget that it's our birthright. We're full of all these other things that we know, all these other, we do have to know things to survive in this world, of course, but we don't have to learn anything new. We just have to remember. We just have to uncover what we already know. And Prabhupada said that. It was very beautiful. He said, I'm just here to remind you of what you've forgotten. And so it's that simple. So, okay, this is what I'm entitled to in a sense. Now, of course, devotional service isn't done for gain. It's just, we don't do it. It's not a transactional thing. Well, I do this and then Krishna does that. And okay, I want this, so let me figure out what I have to do to get. It's not like that. Because, how can you scheme to try to get something that's already yours? But we also can't be arrogant about it. It doesn't come cheap, right? Krishna has the highest taste. Krishna is like that friend that you can't take to like a really bad restaurant because he has a higher taste. You're just not gonna like that, New York knows this. And when I'm in other places and someone's like, that's a good restaurant, I'm like, not really. Just because we know what, especially if you've eaten prasadam, but just first class eatings that's prepared by devotees. Everything else is just second class. And so Krishna's like that. You can't, just can't offer any old thing to him because he's got devotees offering him the best of everything. He has the highest taste. And so that's something to remember. So it's not, devotional service isn't done for any gain or this or that. However, it's not without its consequence that when we offer devotional service, there's complete satisfaction and joy. We don't do it because we're trying to get something. We're not scheming for love. We don't have to. As a matter of fact, we don't have to scheme to have love. But it has its own natural consequence that now I feel satisfied, now I feel joyful. And I think everyone here has experienced that, of this selfless giving. So what else is Krishna telling us? So there's shelter, there's protection, and then moving on to the next verse. So having said this, Lord Krishna, who is Vishnu himself, picked up Govardhan Hill with one hand and held it aloft, just as easily as a child holds up a mushroom. I just found this so curious. Why is this being said in this way? That it's a mushroom. He is a child, and he's just picking it up as easily as a mushroom. So could it be that it's about not taking everything so seriously, in the sense that what Krishna can do, what Krishna does, he can just in any moment pick up a mountain, what seems impossible, because this is what's happening in this pastime. The rain, it's mentioned that the rain was coming down like pillars. So forget about raining cats and dogs. It's raining pillars. I mean, that must have been really painful. And all the animals were suffering, all the people were suffering. And then now you couldn't find high ground. There was no difference between the low ground and the high ground. And I've never been in that kind of flood, but I've been in a flood where, you know, a few years ago, there was a big hurricane and flooding in the Northeast. Many of you may have been in other places. And that you can see the power of nature, how we are completely powerless against it. We are so small and we are very vulnerable. And so this is what's happening for the people there. It's raining pillars and it's thundering and it's lightning. And behind all of that is Indra's anger. And so you can imagine how intense and ferocious this is, that everything is flooding. And so this is what they're feeling. They're feeling afraid. They're fearing for their lives, and they run to Krishna for shelter. But they already know that Krishna is their shelter. They didn't run into it's not said that they ran into their houses. They didn't run into storm shelters. They didn't do anything but run to Krishna's feet. They knew this is my shelter. So this is a very scary situation. And so we may not be in a flood. We may not, and hopefully we don't experience these kinds of terrible things that happen in nature sometimes. And we may, but hopefully we don't. But we can all understand the feeling of what it's like to be completely afraid, to be completely terrified, to be in despair, to be lost, not knowing what to do. And everything seems like it's piled up against us, or we can't see a way out, or we're powerless against the things that are coming up into our lives and into our consciousness. And it can just be momentary. You know, sometimes we have these moments of, yeah, everything is really, really scary right now. This world is scary. I don't know what's happening. I'm bewildered. I have this problem, that problem, all of these things. And it's just a natural part of the human experience. So we can understand this fear, what it feels like, what they were experiencing, what they were going through. But for Krishna, he's like, no problem. It's raining down pillars. I don't even have to get wet. I'm going to pick up this mountain just like a child picks up a mushroom. What seems fantastical and impossible to us is like child's play for him. And he doesn't take it all very serious. You know, he didn't even take Indra's anger and ferocious retaliation very seriously. So one thing that comes to mind when we're talking about Krishna and his playful mood, it's don't grow up. It's a trap. You know, this growing up, and that doesn't mean don't be responsible and do what we have to do. We have duties. We have things that are very important for us to keep our lives going, to keep our lives in good order, to try to live in the mode of goodness, and to try to have healthy, loving relationships with others, with all living beings. But this growing up in this world where we take everything very seriously, and it becomes very scary, and it's us against the world. And Krishna doesn't take that attitude, and he doesn't ask the people in Vrindavan to take that attitude. He says, no problem, just come here, come under my umbrella, and you all belong here because you're all my family. I don't know about you, but I kept thinking about Rihanna's Umbrella song. I won't sing it for you, but if you happen to come across it, the lyrics are very fitting, right? Now that it's raining more than ever, we'll be here together. Come under my umbrella. So these are sentiments. Sure, it's a song that's, you know, just popular. It's probably one of the most popular songs of our generation. You know, without judging whether it's good or not good. That's not the point. The point is that these sentiments are just, they come from somewhere. They come from somewhere. They come from somewhere much, much deeper. They're filtering out through our experience. But that's real. That kind of love that gets filtered out through, in the world, in music and culture and art, that comes from somewhere. Everything comes from Krishna. And that sentiment, that remembrance of what it feels like to you're my friend, I love you, I'll always be there for you. That's real. And so we're just happen to be tapped into the source of where those sentiments come from, and we won't take anything less. Right? So we start to have that higher taste. So what happens when we realize that we have all of these things? When we realize everything that we've been given, we realize that this is our birthright. We realize that that shelter, that protection, that umbrella is not just for those over there. I am part of that family. But in any family, if I act a fool, I'm not going to be invited to the family gatherings. If I'm mean to everyone, if I'm self-centered, if I'm, not kind and loving, they're not going to call me around. So yes, Krishna's there. It is our birthright, but we have to put our part, do our part and put in of our own effort. And how do I relate to people? But that is my family. I'm not outside of Krishna's shelter. I'm not outside of Krishna's protection. When we realize everything that we've been given, the natural consequence is to give to others. So this mood, this overflowing of love, I have Krishna's protection. I have his shelter. I have his love. He recognizes me. If I recognize him, there's nothing to strive for. It's already there. And Prabhupada says that it's, Krishna consciousness is so simple, you might miss it. And, it's simple for the simple, complicated for the complicated. I love complicating things and, the drama. Oh. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And what the consciousness that we bring into things. So this is a very serious thing. If Krishna weren't there, people perish. People do perish in floods, earthquakes, things like that. It is very scary. But Krishna was there, and he's saying, "It's okay. I'm here. I'm going to hold this up, and it's nothing to me. For 7, I'm not even going to hold it up for a moment and just make sure you don't get very, very wet." He's holding it up for 7 days, and this is why Indra's like, "Oh, okay, I see now. I think I understand," because he had to kind of talk these clouds into going and doing this. They were like, "No, I don't really think we should. This does not seem like a good idea." And Indra's like, "No, don't worry about it. Just go and do it. Just go down, and you're gonna rain on them, and no problem. I'll come with you. Everything's fine." And yeah, they kind of got to see that what seems like something very, very scary, very serious is actually, it's nothing when it comes to Krishna. Just like a child playing. So very interesting verses. Let's see. Do we have any comments, any questions? Let's talk about these things. I want to hear from you. Oh, Bhima, my friend Bhima. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhujini. Wonderful class. Love to listen to you. I think something that I have learned recently, I'll try to make this quick, is that we have these storms in our world, and we have this practical application currently, what I'm involved with Adi, with his hosting situation, bringing people in from all over the world. They're traveling alone. These are single occupancy. Can you hear me, by the way, or am I breaking up?
Yes, no, we can hear you.
Okay. Single occupancy rooms. These people are alone. They're traveling. They're across the world. They're obviously, this is a hostel type situation. So these kids are rather open-minded, international young people. And so we have this chance. They're in the room. There's books. There's right. All devotees are being employed, et cetera, et cetera. So we have this chance of engaging our Krishna consciousness with these wandering souls, and we got them in an opportune time. We have quiet hours at night, so that that from 9 o'clock until 8. So they have to must take a moment's solitary contemplation on, without, the buzzing of the phones, et cetera, et cetera. So in that, one would think this is such a wonderful arrangement, but because we're in downtown Manhattan, because of the nature of having 40 different people a night come in, actually it's 80 if you include the whole building, we run into problems all the time. And these problems are like storms because they're people, and people have problems, and we get all sorts. And we were going through something recently. Every week there's a major problem. But one thing we've learned, Adi has always asked us to do this, and believe it or not, it works, is that whenever we have a problem, like a major problem that's out of control, we simply get together and we pray. We actually pray to Krishna to help us through this. We can't see our way out of it. We can't stop the rain. We certainly can't hide from the lightning. It's coming down, and it's coming down hard. And trust me, when I'm talking about coming down hard, when you're dealing with 80 people and a situation like that, and having to keep everybody, happy and comfortable, and in the presence of, let's say, somebody going crazy or somebody drunk or et cetera, or the police showing up or whatever, we have to what do we do? What do we do? This is a storm. And Adi always has this thing where we just sit still and we do a prayer. And I've seen it happen many, many, many times, that Krishna arranges something that we didn't see. Krishna arranges for our protection, for the protection of the other guests, and for a solution. And it's all magical, and it's all mystical, and it's all childlike. It's in the adventure that Krishna comes, in his magical way and makes an arrangement so that we somehow get to see the other side of the storm. And I just think sometimes we don't talk, we talk about chanting Hare Krishna, but we don't tend to pray to say, Krishna, please help us. We have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea where to go, what to do, who to call. We're throwing our hands in the air. You have to help us. And then somehow Krishna always manages to lift that hill over us. And we come out of it on the other side, dry and happy. So that's what I just like to say, because I just came out of a circumstance like that. Actually, we're going through one right now. And we're all praying that we can get to the other side without any major mishap. Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhima. Yeah, it is very serious, and it's important that we recognize that it's different for all of us, our circumstances, what I've gone through, maybe you haven't gone through what you've gone through, I can't possibly understand, but the feelings are the same. And yeah, and the storms, this is the other thing, the storms are temporary. Krishna showed it, it went on for a really long time, 7 days. Nevertheless, it was still temporary, and he was still there. So it's really important. Yeah, you're right. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, that it is very childlike. There's a magic to it. And we need that in a very serious grown-up world. Everyone's very serious, running around, taking the whole world very seriously, and it's scary when it's taken very seriously that way. Yeah. Okay, Andrea.
Hare Krishna, dear sister. So glad to have you here. I have a takeaway and then a question. So I really love how you reminded us that we don't have to learn about, our relationship with Krishna and who he is, we're just remembering that that's something that we just need to remember. And that's really powerful. And I'm definitely wrote that down. I'm going to remind myself. And then my question is, so my mother, who you know as well, she's recently had an experience where someone that a relative came and told her that someone that she knew had left their body, had died, and they described to her in very graphic detail like how they died, and it was like a very it was very traumatic to her to hear about how this person died, and she was very upset about it. And she told me, she was like, my first instinct was to call you and maybe you could help me, and then but then I didn't want to ruin your day. And I was just like, that wouldn't have ruined my day. And I told her, she was just like, I don't want to talk about it because it's so upsetting. And I said, you have to talk about it, because a lot of times, as you were saying, like, if we don't talk about these things, if we don't deal with them, then they get worse. And it turns out that after talking to her, it seems like her upset was about the idea of how death could come so quickly, and how it could be, and a lot of times it's not pretty how it comes, and that she thought she was okay with death, and she's not actually. So I'm just wondering, not just because I would ask whoever was giving class, but also especially you, since you know her, like how can we help loved ones like my mother and others who are getting older and who are starting to come, I think, to terms with the fact that death can come at any time, and realizing that they're scared of it, and they don't have that relationship to it. And I think it's related to this class as well, because it's that whole idea of like the Vrajabasis, they were like, okay, death could come, I'm going to Krishna. But some of our loved ones don't have that. So what can we do in practical ways? I hope that's understandable, not too big of a question.
No, I think I understand. Yeah, it is very difficult because, and we may even experience that ourselves as, those of us that are moving into middle age, and our parents are getting older, and our teachers and, senior devotees are, it is very scary. I think initially, just really listening, like sitting with what is happening for them at that moment, sitting with that fear. So the people in Vrindavan, the Vrajvasis, it's not like they didn't have fear and just went to Krishna. They were afraid. So that's a natural thing. So if we, and it is uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable to sit with someone else's pain, with someone else's fear. We just want to make it go away. We want to tell them the one thing that's going to make it stop. Often it's so that we can stop being uncomfortable. And to pray to Krishna and find that resiliency so that I can sit with that and hold it. Because they may not be, able, especially when we're in fear or we're in, whatever's happening, may not be the right time to start, throwing verses at them. If we're very careful and very mindful, we can say things that we know are true, or that we've realized, or that we understand, or that bring us comfort related to Shastra. But to just sit with them and be with their fear, often that's enough, just this compassionate listening. And then for that, we can pray for the resilience to do it, to just hold that and offer it up to Krishna. But I'm not sure that we'll ever be able to fix that for anyone, other than just being that, that one of us has to, when one of us is drowning, the other one's got to be like, to hold space for another. We have to hold our own space. We have to kind of be centered. And, often we take turns, right? I'm a mess today. I'm afraid. I call you and I'm like, I'm all over the place. And then we just do that for each other. But to learn to be with that pain, Marshall Rosenberg mentions that it's learn to enjoy the pain of the other. Not that you're getting some enjoyment out of it, but where you can actually just sit and see the depth and just be with it, you know, without having it to go away. So that's something that we can do, you know, because we can't control how someone else is going to experience something, or when it stops or when it goes away. Sure, we don't let people get caught up in the, you know, in the, sometimes we can just go round and round and round and round, and we may have to say like, okay, wait, stop, take a deep breath, you know. But I think just sitting and listening deeply, not just with our ears, you know, with our heart, and holding it, and then let Krishna do the magic for it. Thanks, Andrea.
I really like that last sentence that Lila said. Let Krishna do the magic. Sometimes we tend to think that we're the only doer. It's all dependent on us. There's also Krishna in the picture. He can do great things, and he will do great things.
Jai.
Okay.
Hey, anyone else? What do we have? We're almost at time.
Adi.
Adi. Hare Krishna.
Gosh, your spiritual message is empowering you. Really, really nice. Very satisfying. And of course, her question is perfect. We're practicing Krishna consciousness, and our calling is to share it with others. And you're right, you can't just start preaching, you know, but the tendency is to go to somebody, like some people will go to a drug dealer or, you know, an angry person when they have some trouble, and that angry person will say, yeah, we should kill those guys. But when a person turns to a devotee, they've chosen you. And then what Krishna has provided are these stories. And a story is the package for the principles, for the teaching. We say, you know, I heard this story the other day about a village of people that were in distress because of a terrible storm. And I find people just sit down and relax, because you're not going to argue with the story. That's a story, you know. And wonderful point you made. Everybody appreciated the fact that you said, you know, we just have to remember that Krishna is caring for us. He's always caring for us, not just for the devotees, but for everybody. And the storms that I experience are not just the
Jeffrey Eckler says the power of Lila. Don't argue with Lila. Don't argue with the story.
the storms that I experienced lately are the external conditions going on, but the storm I really have to deal with is within my mind. That I make a mountain out of a molehill, that I exaggerate, lose hope, become distressed. And then when I hear, just like Arjuna, the classic thing, Arjuna went to Krishna, he was in distress. And they kill my thing, and they're coming attacking, and I have to fight. And I don't dropping his bow, skin is burning, hair is standing on end. And then Krishna just smiled. Like you said, he just was there he listened, and then he just smiled. He didn't, yeah, that's terrible. He just listened and listened and smiled. And then when Arjuna stopped, I said, Arjuna, there's another way. There's another way to look at this. There's something that you may not be seeing. Will you listen? And if we get their permission to actually share something, a story is very, very powerful. And someone last night who was in distress about St. Paul, he would go and preach, and sometimes 2,000 people would get baptized. But a lot of times he would preach, and there's a riot. They would beat him half to death. He was like, they had a different spectrum of responses to his preaching. He would go into the
Lila is happy that she's giving class on Zoom. At least
Yeah.
nobody's gonna beat her up.
Yeah, I don't want to get beaten.
So that one time when they had this riot break out, they called them the police, the Roman soldiers, and they came and they arrested him. What's happening is this guy's starting a riot, you know. So, but then he had to go on a ship because he was a Roman citizen. He had to go to Rome to be tried, and they chained him to the mast of the ship, And he said to the captain, it's not such a good idea for the ship to go out to the water because there's a big storm coming and you're going to lose the ship and the cargo. And yeah, sure, you don't want us to go to your trial. That's why you don't want us to go on the ship. But it turned out that they got out on the sea and a big storm broke out and everybody was freaking out. There were 280 people on the ship. And for, I think it was a week or something, they didn't even eat. Oh, here comes the conch shell. But St. Paul was calm within the storm. How to be calm in a storm. When you have faith in Krishna, you can do it.
Jai. Yeah, so making mushrooms out of mountains instead of mountains out of molehills. Jai, Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Thank you, Lila Devi. Great class.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Ken, on, please stand up. Comb your hair, Sundarananda. I'm joking. Okay. Darshan.
Someone took my little stand away. Hold it up. Hare Krishna. Jami Govindam Hari Purusham Amaham Jami Govindam Hari Purusham Amaham Hari Venu Pandakam Paravinda Duvaya Taptam Parhavatam Tam Hasitam Purasundaragam Sandar Uko Kamaniya Vishesha Subham Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Jami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Jami Govindam Hari Purusham Jami.
Okay. Thank you, Adi Purushya Prabhu.
Yeah.
I feel I'm being hugged by Adi. Okay. All right, dear devotees. We can take one more reflection or question or comment.
Well, I also have a comment because I misspoke earlier, said that these are Srila Prabhupada's translations, but these were already by his disciples, of which H.D. Goswami is one of them. So that was a big misspoke. So yes, all glories to the disciples of Prabhupada who translated this in the same mood of finding the essence of what it was. And I actually want to leave you, because they're speaking about entitlement, I want to leave you with this this quote from the one of the commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. And it says, the irony of mundane life is that for all our vanity, I'm thinking about Indra, we drastically underestimate ourselves. We think ourselves mortal when we are truly immortal. We endure painful limits to our knowledge and joy, yet as eternal parts of God, Krishna, each one of us is entitled to innate and limitless awareness and joy. We only need claim them appropriately. So we are entitled to certain things, not everything, but we have to claim it appropriately in the right mood with the right understanding. But we shouldn't underestimate who we are and who Krishna is.
Thank you. Thank you, Lila Devi. Who was that from? Was that from?
That is from H.D. Goswami's Comprehensive Guide to the Bhagavad Gita.
Nice. Hidananda Das Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Okay. Would anyone
All the
like?
assembled devotees, Ki Jai.
Would anyone like to make a comment or ask a question? We'll take one more intelligent question or a comment.
There's something Srila Prabhupada says about a child dreaming that there's a tiger chasing him. And the child's fear is powerful and intense. But then the father is sitting by the sleeping child saying, wake up. It's okay. There's no tiger. I'm here for you. You're safe. You're in the bed. You're dreaming. And so we can actually hear from somebody who's awake, because our distress is a dream that has no reality, that everything is okay. Krishna loves us. Krishna's in control. Krishna is our friend, and we are meant to please Krishna. And that's the peace formula. We are meant to please Krishna. If we forget that, we're going to be anxiety. Krishna's in control, no problem. And Krishna's our friend, right? Well,
Yeah.
Prabhupada. That's what Prabhupada responded to that concept, like a child dreaming.
Yeah. Mushrooms out of mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mushrooms like an umbrella, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's music.
No, it's more like Bhima Prabhu's hat. It's not a mushroom. Bhima Prabhu, you look like a mushroom.
I feel like a mushroom. I'm tripping. Yes. That's umbrella, Ella.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let us all remember that. When we have troubles that keep coming after us, let's all remember that not only do we have one umbrella, but the umbrella echoes into the future. Krishna is always with us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Wonderful class, Lila Devi, as always. Thank you. And thanks everyone for participating so nicely in this collective offering to Srila Prabhupada and to the devotees. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day.
Krishna.
Happy Thursday, as Lila said. And come again tomorrow. Hare Krishna. This is not a tiger. This is a mushroom.
This isn't a dream. This is for real.
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna.